intuition and transformation. What is the correlation between these two things? What's the connective point between them? So the connective point between intuition and transformation is that your intuition will let you know when it is time for you to transform and to become the newer version of you. And to shift and to let go of stuff. Even if you are very much attached to it, if you follow your intuition, you will know when it's time for you to skedaddle from something or to stay with something. So ultimately, your intuition will let you in on all the little details of what needs to happen next and what you should do in order for you to get the best outcome possible, for you to reach your highest dreams and your highest outcome. Okay? What is the correlation between these two things? What's the connective point between them? Right? Now, hello and welcome. And today's insight is going to be about intuition and transformation. Okay? So, to me, one of the most key components that you can work on and build or improve is your intuition. Why? Because your intuition will let you in on details that you would not have received otherwise, right? Things that people think and aren't saying, and things of that nature, right? So my coach, JT Fox, one of my coaches, JT Fox, puts a lot of importance on intuition. It's not necessarily the thing that he puts all of his importance on, but it's an important part of his grand scheme of things, right? He has this ability to read people just by their body language. And it's actually a pretty neat trick to have. And I mean, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there pretty slowly but surely. Knowing how to read people's body language is key, because whatever they actually mean, they don't necessarily say it through their words, but they will say it through their nonverbal communication. So they will communicate it not verbally. But the thing is that we as human beings have placed, in this day and age, have placed a lot of importance on the 20% of what is communicated in a spoken, in any communication, okay? So if it's a verbal communication, 20% of it, 20% will be based on 20% of the message, of the meaning of the message will be based upon the words used. That's it. All the rest is going to be on the nonverbal communication scale, nonverbals, like cues, and the paraverbal cues. Now, what do I mean by that? Nonverbal message is what does their facial expression say? What does their posture say? What does their body language say? Okay, paraverbal is their tone of voice. So what does one of my university teachers called it la tune, right? So that's the melody in French Canadian. That's French Canadian, popular French Canadian for the melody behind the voice. Their intonation, their rapidity, their slowness, their inhalation, their exhalation. How does it sound? That will also play a big part in it. So these three things, they're nonverbal, they're paraverbal, and they're verbal, okay, represent three things that you need to be very keen on. You need to watch this and be very attentive to this. Now, this is the one thing. That is one sliver of the insight you're going to get. Okay, now, why do I place importance on intuition? It's because you understand so much more. So much more is going to be given to you as information about what is actually occurring in the interaction. Okay? Now, and something that I've learned through what I've read, what I've heard, and what my father talks about, okay, is that intuition is just something that you've done enough for you to know it so well that it has become an unconscious programming in your mind, okay? For those of you who drive cars, you know what I'm talking about. You get in the car, you start the car, you don't know how in the world you get to your destination, but you got there, right? You don't know what happened along the way, but all you know is that you went from point A to point B and no problems occurred. So if you can drive, you know what I'm talking about. If you can write, you know what I'm talking about. If you can walk, you know what I'm talking about. If you can swim, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? So intuition is not so magical as it may seem. It is just what you've practiced enough that you have become a master at it. Now that is where people who do things that are out of the ordinary so often that seem like magic. Okay? That's it. It's just that I know something you don't know. That's it. And I've practiced something you have not practiced enough for me to know what I know. That's it. So, with that cognition, that way of thinking, if you do something enough times for it to become unconscious patterns in your mind, you will also become magical to others. To the others who don't do what you do, you will become magical. Why? Because they haven't done it. But if you, for example, okay, my coach, both my coaches, Christopher Dideon and JT Fox, right? They work business like magic. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to. You tell me create, I will create, but don't tell me to like have a business. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so scary. But that is my patterning. That is, I am the one standing at the gate of me having a successful business. Because I'm like, nah. I'm worried. I'm scared. That's my issue. Okay? So, the reason why I talk about this, alright, is because I had an idea earlier today, which really, I've had this idea a couple of times before, but I'm like, no, I'm going to talk about this today. So I know that I know a bit more about intuition than most people, and I want to share my knowledge so that other people can benefit from it. But every time I suggest it, okay, I have people who are like, nah, that doesn't really interest us. Like, okay. Because I think maybe they don't see the connection between making sure that your intuition's on point and you being successful. Because, I mean, the way I see it, okay, some people might take what I'm doing for magic when it's not actually magic. It's just doing something enough times for it to become seemingly magical. I mean, to me, I don't drive, okay? So, like, for example, NASCAR racers, I don't know how they do it, right? And I'm pretty sure normal drivers watch NASCAR drivers and be like, oh my god, that's so cool, right? It's the same thing with my intuition. It's not magic. I have mentioned this in a previous video. I have I cannot stand people trying to ensnare, magically put spells on, or influence other people's, willingly, knowingly influence other people's actions. I just cannot stand it. I cannot. It is a pet peeve of mine, because once someone tried to do that to me and I did not appreciate it the least bit, and I'm like, okay, you know what, Taylor? If you ever do this to someone, kill yourself now. because it is called bad karma. And you don't need to rack up bad karma. Believe me, I don't know how, like, you don't need to. It's like, nay, that shit lasts lifetimes. Okay? You don't want that stuff looming over your reality. You do not. So, now, as much as I want to share my knowledge, make sure that other people can benefit from this type of intuitive knowing, it is not my place to force anything down anyone's throat. I pride myself on allowing what God has given us all. Free will. You get to choose what you want in your life. And you've created it all. And you've created all of it. And you can uncreate it all in a flip of a switch. Just like that. I can offer you information to help you get there faster. But if you don't want it, you don't want it. And I can't force it down your throat, because the more I force it down your throat, the worse it'll get. Right? The more resentful you'll be. So, all this to say, I avoid anything that might seem in any way, shape, or form putting spells on people, making them do things they don't want to do, and manipulating them, or things of that nature. I steer clear of it to the nth degree. Alright? But if you want to learn a bit more about how to make things bend your way, it'll be my pleasure. So, if people think I'm magical, that's their perception. And all I need to do, and all they need to do, is ask me how I did it, and I'll be glad to share, because this is not my information. This is God's information. And if God has put this on the planet, it is for everyone to utilize. Everyone. But you need to want to use it. You have to come to me. That's all I'm saying. So, is there something you want to learn to be more masterful at? Let me know.